author, a published author, an acclaimed relationship moderator, a workshop facilitator, host of the Hot Seat Challenge, communication strategist, and that you're trusted by some of the world's biggest brands and industries.
Right.
So, do we get everything? Is there anything you want to add?
No, that was enough. That was a mouthful. Yeah, I'm glad to be.
So that's everything.
Yeah, that's everything. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, in your own words, then tell us why you do what you do.
Well, I like relationships, and I found out years ago that the number one relationship that most people tend to focus on are romantic in scope, like boyfriend, girlfriend. And I'm like, you know what? You're bypassing the foundation of a great relationship with this, the friendship part. We don't know how to do friendship. I realize that past a certain age, we do not know how to do friendship. So I want to help people learn how to do that better.
Okay. And just what age is that you're talking about? We forget how to be friends first.
I think whenever a guy realizes his body part can go inside of a woman's body part, that we kind of lose all perspective. At that point, it becomes a motivation. It's like, okay, if I want that from her, I have to behave this way. And we're just kind of conditioned and taught that he who gets the time gets the girl, and most good girls don't give it up. So if you ask a woman, look, I find you attractive, I want to have sex with you, since women control access to sex and they say no, they can shut you down immediately. But in order for me to have sex with you, I have to appeal to me liking you more than I might have to appeal to your vanity, your ego. Gosh, you're so beautiful. You're so intelligent. You're so amazing. And once I become your boyfriend, that no becomes a yes. So it's like, but the friendship hasn't been established.
Right. So is it safe to say instead of relationships, we end up in what I call situationships?
But we just end up in like premature drama. It's like, if your emotions outthink your common sense, then you're in a bad place. I don't care how attractive he or she is. I don't care how many times they make your stomach and heart flutter. Until you establish a baseline behavior for that person, what are they like when they get mad? What does their depression look like? How deep is their depression? You know, what do other people think about them that don't like them very well? Most of the time, you don't know any of that until you're locked into some romantic relationship with the joker, and that's the first time you see him throw something against the wall. That's silly.
Mm. Okay. What is your opinion on establishing certain boundaries so that you can develop a relationship in the right way, in a healthy way? What is your opinion on how to set those boundaries? Because oftentimes getting into relationships, I can find myself being very I would say blunt in the way that I just lay out what I do and don't tolerate, and that oftentimes will cause just them to be afraid from jump. So how do you feel about like establishing those boundaries from the beginning?
Well, it depends on what the motivation is. Like I will ask you, you know your triggers. You know what makes being in a relationship with you difficult, right? Don't you? Can you tell me two things right now that makes being in a relationship with you hard?
Being nonchalant.
Okay.
I can't do that. And lying.
Okay, so you lie. No, I'm saying you lie a lot and you're not. Yeah, what makes being in, if I was interested in you, tell me two things that about you that should make me run for the hills. Right.
I can be very straightforward, I think.
Okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing if it's not disrespectful. That's what I'll say. I don't always know the respectful way to convey my emotions in the moment. Okay, well, would you say that you're pretty much emotionally aware?
Yes. Okay. I'm very, I agree.
Okay, so if I said something to you, you know what I could say to you to tick you off, right?
Right.
Well, then you probably know what you can say to other people to tick them off.
Right.
So you just gotta be mindful of that. Just don't do that. I could be very blunt, but you have to realize, who am I talking to? If I'm talking to a very emotionally sensitive person and I know them to be emotionally sensitive and kind of soft, you can't be very blunt with a person like that. I'm not saying that you have to hold their hand and tell them a lie, but you can't just say, well, you know what, your breath stink all the time, because you know they're going to feel bad. You just have to find another way to say that your breath stink without offending them. And that's going to be hard because people are so sensitive these days. So I guess what you said as far as boundaries, I know what my triggers and buttons are. And if you say something to me and it pisses me off, I can't say, well, she said that and I'm angry. I have to say, what about what she said triggered me? Why did that make me feel the way that it did? Because if it wasn't true, or a part of it wasn't true, it wouldn't bother me. But what about that bothered me? And work on that part. Let's work on that.
Mm-hmm. So not so much responding to my triggers and letting the person know, but more so communicating with myself to try and figure out why I'm triggered.
Well, it's like, that's the most important part, because if this person triggers you and you don't get to the root cause of it, when you break up with them and you meet someone else and they push that same button or pull that same trigger, you're going to respond the same way. You got to ask yourself, why is this? Why? So boundaries are okay. Like, for instance, you're not going to call me all hours of the night, right? Mm-hmm. Those are boundaries. Boundaries are, you're not going to tell me who my friends can and can't be.
Right.
You know, and sometimes the way that happens is, if you and I are dating and I have friends of the opposite sex, now it's disrespectful for me to hang out with those people, or it's disrespectful for me to take phone calls with them now that I'm with you. No, we're going to set those boundaries up front. Like, you can't tell me who I can and can't talk to. And you can't tell, those are certain boundaries that you have to set for you and yourself, because I might not recognize your friends because of some type of insecurity I have in me, So boundaries are, it's just different, boundaries are just different. So I would just say, as far as you're concerned, you say that are you slick at the tongue? Do you know when you're being disrespectful, or it just comes out?
So honestly, I feel like I give a lot of leeway.
Okay.
Initially, I can be very, I like to try to accept people for who they are. Mm-hmm. But once it reaches a point where, like, I've expressed something a couple times and there's, like, not really a plan in place for correction, or there's, like, this nonchalant behavior, right, that's when I can get a little bit rar.
That's justifiable. That's justifiable, though. As long as you don't pull out the claws immediately the first time, that's justifiable. You give chances, then after a while, you have to teach a person how to treat you. You have to train them how to treat you. So you told them, I don't like this, and they keep doing it, and they'll do it. The closer they are to you, family and friends will push those boundaries. They'll do it. They'll see how far they can go. But sometimes you just got to remove yourself from that situation, or tell them, I told you before, this makes me feel this way. You keep doing it. What can we do about this behavior? Because I'm going to tell you a good example how I had to do it. I had a relative that would constantly call me for money when he get into a bind. And I would give it to him. And then he went on a trip and didn't plan to have enough money to get back. So he called me and said, I need money for a ticket and for a hotel. Can you help me? Let's just say he asked for $500. I gave him $1,000. And I said, I'm buying you out of my life financially. You can never come back. You can never come back for money. So here's the help that you need and some, but my boundary is, you cannot come back for money. And he's never asked me for that again. But sometimes you got to treat people like that.
Like that. That was a good example. Yeah, I like that. So, what's the difference, in your opinion, between men and women when it comes to relationships?
Programming. Yep. It's the way we're socially raised to look at things. Like, you hear people say, well, a real man would do this, or a real woman would do that. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, for instance, a real man would pay all the bills. Okay. I have women to say, I've never paid for a date. Well, whoever asked the person out on the date should pay for the date. But since most women are not going to ask men out, what does it default to? It default, right? Because y'all say, I don't have to ask a man on a date because a real man will ask me out. Well, what? It's like, even if I did ask you out, do I have to pay? Can you offer to pay sometimes? I know some women that will never pay. But you got to ask, where did that come from? Where did it come from? And I think that's what makes it difficult. We're trying to do relationships based upon old information, how we were raised. Times have changed. Since 1982, women have been graduating from college with higher degrees and out earning men since 1982. So how am I going to still be that provider financially when most women make more than most men? Make it make sense.
Yeah, and that goes to your article on your website. What is it? Old school versus new school? I think it's called.
Right.
Yeah, the thinking.
Right. And we don't know how to date. Anitra, we don't know how to date. We mate. We court. Dating is activities with the opposite sex centered around activities that you enjoy. It has no romantic connotation for it at all. But most of the time when people think of dating, you're with somebody that you might be able to see as your future boo thing. It's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. It's like, I think you're interested, let's just hang out. If this date goes well, let's hang out again. But it don't mean I'm going to zero in on you. And you don't go to I don't know if you ladies cook. I think you do, Anitra. But you don't go to the store and pick up the first vegetable that you see when you get ready to make some soup. You pick up that apple, you look at it, you squeeze it, you put it down. You use the process of elimination to arrive at the best fruit or vegetable for your soup. You don't do that with people, though. Oh, he cute. He tall. If you're a woman, he's tall. He's over 6 feet. He makes good money. He's attractive. Like, what? Like, I don't know. You bypass the friendship altogether. So
I agree with that. Women definitely date differently. I don't know. Some women, we just zero in on that one guy because he's like, "Hey, you look cute, or you're pretty, and I want to talk to you." But men don't do that. Oftentimes, I've seen men; they are free and they will freely date multiple women until they decide which one they want to settle down with or zero in on.
Why do you think that is?
Programming, like you said.
Right. It's understanding the truth. You as a woman, you two as women, y'all control access to sex. Y'all control that 100%. 100%. Men control access to romantic relationships and marriage. Y'all don't control that. So no matter how good you are, no matter how worthy you think you are, your value, whatever, until the man decides to get down on his knee and give you a ring, it really don't matter how you view yourself because we control that. We control that. And the men that y'all want, y'all are not attracted to 80% of the men that you meet, either online or in person, 80%. So that means most of y'all are attracted to the same 20%, which means he's going to be tall. And tall starts at 6 feet. No matter, most men in the world are 5'8", 5'9". He has to start at 6 feet or above. He has to look good, be in shape, have a good job and money, and be articulate. Like, who don't want him? So why would he just pick you? There's too many. There's too many of y'all who want him. And men are starting to realize that now. Men my age, once upon a time, we didn't realize it. Today's men, 21st century men, realize that. They realize, okay, these women have a type, but their type has been the same since they've been 18, 20, 30, 40. And here they are, late 40s, 50, with the same type. It's like they're waking up. Men are waking up and like, no, we control romance and marriage. Y'all control whether or not we get some sex. But we can always get sex.
Ooh, that hurts. I don't know. I was about to say, why is that so frustrating to hear you say, which sounds completely right, but you saying it is just like, ugh.
I know, but last thing, so here's the thing. Here's what, a lot of women aren't realizing this. If I want companionship, I can get a dog. If I want to compete and win, because men don't care about being fair. We operate on winning and losing, right? So a lot of men, grown men, are playing video games. You know why? Because we can be as brutal as we need to be. We can win online, but we might not be able to win with our woman. This dude ain't got to work all the time late, but he's going to spend time where he's winning, and it might be a job with might be at his work. But it's like, if I want sex, I can hire a prostitute. If I want companionship, I can get a dog. And if I want camaraderie, I can hang out with my boys or other chicks that don't want anything romantically from me. Why do I have to pick you romantically all the time? Especially if I'm 6 feet tall, make good money, and look good. Why you? I have peace. I can have peace with the multiple of women.
So then how do you, how would you suggest that women get over that hump, that old school thinking, and move into this new age where men are being enlightened and we're having to shift with everything in 2024? How do you suggest we do that? How do we get there?
I think to recognize that marriage matters more to women than men. And a lot of women still in their 50s and 60s saying, when I get married, I'm going to, the next time I get married, like, you have a choice. Like, what? Like the next time you get married, when it's like realizing that there is a time limit. Never give up on whatever, but you can't be the same year after year after year and expect a different result, because a lot of y'all can look around. I'm not saying you two ladies, maybe not, but y'all got a lot of single friends. And a lot of single friends want to tell men how they should behave, how they should act, as opposed to like, look, can we just put the romantic side down? Forget the courtship. I want to be chased. Put that down and just get to know people. And if you study children up to about the age of 4, 5, and 6, they know how to get together. They know how to be friends, because typically they don't realize sexual body parts. They can just play and have a good time. But when you realize that, ooh, this thing stands up and it can go where, it changes. It completely changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you have a couple of books out.
Yeah.
So I know the first one is Get Blaylocked.
The first one was What's Your Date Number? The first one was What's Your Date Number, right?
Huh?
The first one was What's Your Date Number?
Yep, that's right. What's Your Date Number? That's right.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little more about the date number?
I'll tell you what. The thing that I think is more interesting is this one right here.
Is this the newest one?
No, it's not the newest one. This is like book number 2. Cheat Proof: Why Good People Cheat and What to Do About It. The reason I think that's a great book. Have you ever been cheated on, one of you two ladies? Have y'all been cheated on before?
Yes.
Have y'all ever cheated?
Have I ever cheated?
Yeah.
No.
Even in your younger years, you've never cheated? Never.
I don't count get backs as cheating.
What?
I don't count get backs as cheating because I didn't do it first.
Right.
I'm just looking at the score. So I'll say no, I have not.
Right. Well, you've done that, so it's good. Would you say you're a horrible person?
No.
Right, so you're a good person, yet you cheated.
I think what makes me only once in life, but I think what makes me a good person is the fact that after I did my get back, I hated it. And I don't want to say hated, but I disliked myself for it. I disliked how it made me feel. And I realized that wasn't my area. Right. You know what I mean? To play those kind of games. I think that's what makes me feel like I'm a good person. But at the time, I was like much younger, and I just wanted to feel like I hadn't lost, if that makes sense. Right.
I got you. Well, in Cheat Proof, when I started researching it, I was a habitual cheater. Okay. And I often say right now, I'm one vagina away from falling off the wagon now, because whatever you're addicted to. It's an addiction. But you got to ask why. You were a compunction cheater, meaning you did it. You had your reasons for doing it. It was a selfish reason. All cheating boils down to the same thing, is selfishness. But you did it. You felt awful. A lot of times a compunction cheater will admit it and they won't do it again. That's not in their nature. I was a narcissistic cheater. I did it. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have the feelings behind it. Like, oh, well, it's going to make her feel this way. So I did it repeatedly. And it's important. The reason I bring those two distinctions out, compunction or narcissistic, is because we're just in this we're in the age of we're not in the age of let's stay together anymore. We're in the age of I will be with you as long as I'm happy. And when I'm not happy with you anymore, next, right? So all that is practicing what women say they want the most, which is long-term, long-lasting relationships, and sometimes marriage, commitment. But just getting into relationships and breaking up is teaching you how to leave, right? So in cheat proof, let's just say I work hard to become a certain way and you meet me and you like it. But then all of a sudden, as I start dating you, I'm going to kind of shift to do what you want me to do. I'm going to whatever. I could look in the mirror one day and not recognize the guy I used to be because I'm doing everything for you to be happy because I don't want you to leave me. Most men are not going to leave their woman. I'm talking about marriage now. Most married men will not leave a wife they're not happy with. We don't. We'll get a side chick. We'll find our happy, but we don't leave. Women leave. Y'all leave 80 or 90% of the time. I don't know if you've been married before, but look at, if you have been, I will ask who divorced who? Who filed for divorce? You filed for it, right, Nisha?
Yeah.
If you follow the pattern, you do. Men don't do it. I don't care if whatever it's like, but see, in cheat proof, you got to ask why. One of the things that really trip me out is sometimes a person isn't cheating because she looks more attractive, because she makes more money. Sometimes a guy cheats because he wants to get back to the guy he used to be before he got with the chick he's with now. Because there was nothing wrong with that dude. He liked video games. It was healthy. He didn't do it all the time, but he enjoyed it. But because she thought grown men who play video games were childish, she made him feel some kind of way, so he stopped. Meanwhile, he might meet a chick that's into games too, and she validates that. So he might cheat with that because there's nothing wrong with the gamer. He wasn't irresponsible. But it's amazing to look at that, and I think we should talk more about that because there's a whole bunch of cheating going on because we don't know how to be friendships and be real. We don't know how to be real.
Well, why, and this is going to be the topic of the day, I'm pretty sure. So why do older men, we see a lot more now, tend to try to find younger women? Why do they go that route?
It's not new.
It's not new, but it's way more in your face now. It used to be kind of, every now and again, a little taboo, but now it's like they're arm in arm walking down the street and out in public and everything. And it's just like, and the women are getting younger and younger. I'm talking about 18, 19, 20-year-olds with 40, 50-year-old men.
I think you
Why
see
do you
it.
think it's starting to come more to the forefront now?
Well, one, because, social media, we can see it. But the second thing is look, typically the age is 10 years younger. That's what younger woman means according to statistics. But a younger woman makes an older man feel like he's living longer. Like, we know that women outlive men. If I'm dating somebody my age, I'm looking at her like, dang, I'm that much closer to the grave. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes a younger woman, it's not that she's young. It's like the level of respect that she has for you. She's like, you know what? This man has been through something. I can learn from him. He can help me along the way. Not necessarily financially, because a lot of times, like old school thinking, she's just with him because he has money. Well, flipping that on the head, you have women now. In my age, during my time, you got married in your 20s. You start having babies in your 20s and maybe 30s. These women now, they're having their degree. They're concentrating on their careers. They're like, you know what? I'll kick it with you, but I'm not trying to have any babies with you or get married to you soon because I got to make sure that I can support me. And if I do get pregnant, my child, whether you're here or not, because we've seen the generations that came before us, and y'all divorce too much. And women that don't have anything, I don't want to try to take a man's half or whatever. I want to be able to take care of me and mine. So it's the mindset. It's different. It's the difference. So if you got to think about, you got somebody in their 40s or 50s still thinking they the bomb, still trying to dress like they the 20s and 30s, like they're body banging because they can get some penis and and you got somebody that's younger. If it's just a matter of sex, do I want to look at a 50-year-old body or do I want to look at a 25-year-old body? More than likely it's a 25 because I'm visual. But if a man has money and it's a pay-to-play situation, it's like I would rather pay to drive the Ferrari than to drive the Model T Ford.
Okay, you know, I can understand that, but mentally, what do they have to offer? Because I've spoken to some older men, and they try the younger female, and it's like, but then they say they can't connect mentally, like they can't have an informed or mature conversation with them because they haven't experienced anything. So,
well, I mean, of course, that's there. They haven't experienced as much as him, but there are a lot of interesting younger women who are well traveled, well spoken, educated. I don't know if you ever met Lindsay before Anitra, but she was 17 years my junior, 17 years younger than me. But she was not Americanized. She came from French Guiana, and her goal was by the time I'm 20, I want to go to the United States, have my PhD, and be teaching at a respected university by the time I'm 30, 31. She did it. And you have those conversations with her. It's like, it wasn't, she was very cultured, it's like, they're out there. It just depends where you meet these women. A lot of women.
Lindsay, who is Lindsay?
Lindsay was my ex-girlfriend that, and the reason we weren't together anymore is because for the most part, the age difference can happen when it wasn't a level of maturity. It wasn't a level of information or any of that, because I learned a lot from Lindsay because she was well-spoken, well-traveled. She didn't go to the club. She wasn't normal like that, right? She was very cultured. But at that age, she wanted children. I didn't want any more kids. So at some point, it's not because the relationship broke down because we were incompatible. It's just that you go as far as you can go and you can't go anymore. And it hurt both of us for a while because it wasn't broken. So age, when it comes to men who are, well, these young women are silly. Where are you meeting them? You meet them at the club. Where are you meeting these women? Because there's a whole bunch of mature ones. But if you're going to the same place trying to meet different women, it's like, no, that's why you're getting that same result. And so I just think it's easier. Younger women tend to be easier. They're not set in their ways as hard. They don't have a lot of baggage as far as making the same bad decisions over and over again, expecting you to fix it or becoming bitter. Because a lot of older women were like, I'm not going to put up with this. I know what I will. It's like, why you give me that attitude? I didn't do anything to you. Like, why does it, let's just start from scratch. Younger women just don't have that. They don't have as much baggage.